On my like TVD discussion board, I put Vampire Diaries lore and Legacy lore are class of the originals, meaning the original was made for the simple-minded. But then I had another one that said the Michaels never faced any actual tough opponent, but I discussed that inside the other video. So in this video, we're going to be talking about how Qetsiyah is a worse witch than Silas. To a person who has seen the Vampire Diaries, you're thinking, clearly she's not. She made the other side. This is rage bait. She's the goat. Bonnie is also her descendant, so clearly she makes powerful people. How could she be weaker than Silas? She made the immortality spell. She did this. She did that. She gave Silas belt. Clearly, she's better than Silas. To you, that was probably your natural inclination mentally. You probably didn't say it out loud, or maybe you had a knee-jerk reaction that said, what are you talking about? Shush. But I'm about to dive super deep into this. It's going to be the most annoying 20 minutes or 10 minutes of all time. Qetsiyah says out her mouth, Silas and I were the two most powerful members of a gifted people called Travelers. She says that. When I was on TikTok, someone argued that doesn't mean that they were equally on the same playing field. It just means that they were the two most powerful people in the Travelers, right? The person was a Qetsiyah fan. She said, Qetsiyah is clearly the more skilled out of them. But in truth, if you're looking at it from that logic, that would mean that it doesn't mean that Qetsiyah is more powerful than Silas. If it doesn't mean that Silas is more powerful than Qetsiyah, it would also mean equivalent exchange. It would also mean that Qetsiyah is not more powerful than Silas. Just like naturally, you're going to be like, okay, cool. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're like the same. I mean, it doesn't mean that they're like on the same playing field. They just mean they're the two most powerful. The same could be said about, in this logic, the same could be said that like Silas is more powerful than Qetsiyah then. If you dig me, somebody could say that. Quite literally, somebody could say that. When it comes to Qetsiyah, somebody could say, well, I mean, using this logic, we could say that Qetsiyah is more powerful than Silas. You feel me? That logic is hilarious. That logic is hilarious as hell. Let's talk about the little things that are dropped in season 4 and 5. I said Qetsiyah is a worse witch than Silas, right? So let's talk about witch feats, right? I think in season 5, episode 7, Silas dies. He dies. But moments before that, he was fighting Qetsiyah. He showed up to her. And if you go back to that scene in season 5, episode 7, I think it's called The Death of the Maiden, you can see that he's vibing. He has his hand like this. And he's waiting for her. He's watching her go down. And he asks about Amara. And she's throwing things, right? She says, you should not turn the lights off, genius. And he's throwing things. Well, she's throwing things at him. Wham. He dodges it, of course. He's a legend. He dodges it again. She's throwing more things, right? And then he's like, okay, fine. He says, I feel sorry for you. And what I really want to emphasize in this scene is his relaxed nature. When we're talking about someone that you despise, when we're talking about someone that I just don't like this person, you can see in the actor's face when they're alone, when these persons that you don't like are alone, right? And that person says something that absolutely gets under your skin, you can see that they are physically uncomfortable. Klaus can say, oh my gosh, Michael doesn't scare me, ah ha 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 ha, blah 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 blah. But once you see that scene in season 3, right before the Stefan and Klaus beef, Klaus and Michael are talking to each other at the front door, at the door of the party, right? And you can see in his eyes that what this person is saying is what Michael is saying is getting to Klaus. Genuinely. He has tears in his eyes, gang. With all this rah-rah about, oh my gosh, Michael this and Michael that. Even after, let's talk about the second time he kills Michael, all right? Do you dig me? Or sees Michael. There's always this, every time they have an interaction, even if Klaus has the upper hand, gang, you feel me? And but before he's about to stake Michael, they have this conversation and he gets down to tears again, gang, just by looking at Michael. You can see that Michael, in the first interaction at the door, he gets under his skin just by speaking. When it comes to the second interaction, right? Klaus is crying. You can't fake that. Let's get back to Silas and Qetsiyah. To a lot of people, right? Everybody and their mother just immediately assumed that she created the immortality spell, that she's just the most powerful witch of all time, that she's just the GOAT, right? Silas gives her credit and says, you are descended from one of the most powerful witches of all time. One of the most powerful witches of all time. Not the most, one of. He gives her credit. He's like, I was with the bitch. You are. Or I wouldn't have been with her. I'll be been with her. It's hilarious. He says, you are. You dig me? Like, I don't care about giving her credit. She ain't more powerful than me. You dig me, so it don't matter. She comes down the stairs with her little chandelier thing. I said chandelier, I'm dead. With her little whatever lantern thing, I suppose. And he's vibing. He's chilling. Mind you, this is reverted back to witch Silas. You feel me? He's not a psychic anymore. He can't compel this person to do whatever he says. You feel me? He's just a witch. And without a talisman, by the way. He has no talisman. He's just a witch. Qetsiyah came down the steps, right? By the fireplace in the Salvatore boarding house. And she had her talisman around her neck. What does that talisman do, you ask? It enhances her power. The fandom collectively, right? Of course, people say Hope and people say Bonnie and people say Anadu. And people say Dahlia, right? But to the fandom's, you feel me, general consensus is that either Hope or Qetsiyah, right, are the strongest witches of all time. So to their knowledge, one of the strongest or the strongest witch of all time just came down the steps with her talisman on, by the way. I have to be very concise when I say that. With her talisman on, by the way. And Silas, right? The only two people that's in this room right now is Silas and Qetsiyah. There's no other people that's watching or hearing or this or that, you feel me? It's just Silas and Qetsiyah. And you can see on his face that he does not care. He doesn't care. He doesn't care about her. He doesn't care about anyone. You dig me? There is a soullessness about him. You would have thought his ass was Kai Parker. There's this level of soullessness about Silas when he looks into Qetsiyah's eyes. Or looks into anyone's eyes, to be honest, aside from Amara. Mind, this is supposed to be the powerful... Qetsiyah is supposed to be the most powerful witch to ever witch. And yet... when in this, mind you, if Silas was this faker, right, this fucking poser, right, this, oh my gosh, you taught me everything, I'm so sorry, miss, I'm so sorry. If Silas was supposed to be this bitch, basically, this loser, right, this poser, this, you dig me, at witchcraft, right, he would have been scared out of his mind. He would have been like, okay, I'm sorry. I don't want to actually fight you. I don't want to actually do anything, to be honest. Like, I'm sorry. You got me. You dig me? You got me. I'm sorry. All right. But his entire demeanor was, I don't care. And he looked her dead in her eyes, dead in her soul, the moment she walked into that bitch. The moment that she came down the steps and they was by the fireplace, he looked her dead in her soul. Basically what I'm saying is he looked her dead in her eyes. And he was like this. There wasn't enough fear in his heart and apprehension in his heart. At all. You dig me? And for a lot of people, that might not mean much, right? For a lot of people, that might not mean much. He has nothing to... Let me get to this point. She has her talisman on. The moment, mind you, he's dodging. The first glass goes across, wham. Second glass goes across, wham. Okay, cool. I tried to speak it out, right? And you didn't want to speak it out, right? You want to throw things at me. You want to cause bodily harm, right? That's fine. Right? And the moment that he says something back to her, right? Mind you, he's chilling the entire interaction. The moment he says something back to her, you can look in her eyes when the camera pans over to her. She's tearing up, gang. It actually got under her skin. The moment that he said anything back to her, the moment that he used his words to battle her even. You dig me? Not his fist or anything else. The moment that he used his words to battle her. He's in witch form. He can die at this moment in time. The moment that he used his words, simply used his words, her eyes start watering up. She got under her skin immediately, genuinely. And even in that moment, he didn't care. She throws another glass. Wham! He catches it like this. Look at it. Go back to that scene where he catches the third glass. Go and look at the scene where he catches the third glass, put it in slow-mo, and look at his face. He doesn't change expression. He does not care. He catches it, throws it, she dodges, right? Like the legend that she is, right? Very intellectual, very good at witchcraft, very good at, boom, she's snapping, right? Boom. He immediately goes like this, whoosh. She dodges this. He immediately goes like this, wham. If I really want to dissect this fight, this social commentary between these two behemoths, right, of the witch world is showcasing the fact that Silas is 2 steps ahead always. And that Qetsiyah just gives up. You know what I mean? The moment that he actually did anything back to her as far as bodily harm, she didn't even want to complete the anchor spell. I think it was Elena who came down and forced her to get her ass up and complete the anchor spell. Without Elena doing that, she was gonna die in peace, so to speak. He would have won. Silas would have won. So when we're talking about Silas versus Qetsiyah, and she's just like the greatest witch of all time, and she da 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 da. She had her talisman on, gang. And she got her ass beat in 2 seconds when he actually started. He didn't even try. He didn't even try. He used 0.1% of his fucking witch abilities, dog, and whooped their ass in 2 seconds. As a witch, not a sidekick. He can't compel you right here. You know what I mean? He can't get other people to like distract you or this or that. You guys had a one-on-one right there. You want to throw bottles? You want to do... Okay, cool. You don't want to use the words? Okay, cool. Fine. But that's just one instance, right? He already beat her ass, right? Into him, like, actually, like, I guess, using 0.1% of his power. But let's talk about the small things that they include in season 5 that they don't actually verbally tell you outright, right? Of course they tell you, but people look over it, right? Because they don't care about Silas. They think that Qetsiyah is God, the magnum opus of the Vampire Diaries universe, right? Without Silas' spell, mind you, all those travelers, right? Every traveler in the freaking universe, right? So many travelers was already on the mortal plane. Marcos comes back. Wham. That's nice. That's dandy. Whatever the heck. But who helps Bonnie with the spell? Not the trillion dead travelers or the trillion travelers that were freaking on the mortal plane prior to like this whole situation, right? It was Silas. Silas decides to help Bonnie with this spell. It was due to Silas' spell that all these people start to come back. Genuinely. The Tylers of the world, the Enzos of the world, the freaking, who else? Stefan had, I think, died or whatever. He came back. Wham! You dig me? The Elena. Wham! You dig me? Without Silas teaching Bonnie that spell, Bonnie then teaching Liv that spell, there is no coming back. You can try to overwhelm the anchor all you want to, but then you probably just gonna kill the anchor. It was Silas' spell. I have to put so much emphasis on this type of stuff because for a lot of people, you just go over it. Just go over the word and just, oh my gosh, yeah, it was Silas' spell. No. It was Silas' spell. Qetsiyah didn't come back and be like, oh yeah, I'm about to da-da-da-da-da. Qetsiyah didn't come back and was like, da-da-da-da. Qetsiyah died of what? A witch death? I'm pretty sure, yeah, Qetsiyah died of witch death. You feel me? She was on the other side before it got destroyed. She didn't come back. You dig me? She didn't help Bonnie. Qetsiyah died of witch death, you feel me? And you guys are going to probably be over here and you're going to get on the comments. You're going to be like, no, you're going to get on comments. You're probably going to be like, oh my God, well, she went to peace. She didn't go to fucking peace. She went to hell, to be honest. How did she go to hell? She didn't do anything wrong. Trust. K puts people in hell for less. K put people in hell for less. The moment that the other side went away, she went away and she went to hell. Do you dig me? Real rap. Mind you, that means that Silas reverse engineered the way that the anchor works, right? If you overwhelm the anchor just most likely dies. I'm pretty sure that's what Bonnie was happening. Like it damages the anchor so much to the point where she gets mollywopped. You feel me? And the moment that the other side goes away, you feel me? She goes away with it. Well, we're talking about the anchor really quickly and the overwhelming her with a lot of these dead people, whatever the heck. Silas, he reverse engineered the way that the anchor works, right? Usually it's a one-way ticket, right? It's a gateway, right? Usually it's a one-way ticket. You feel me? You're supernatural, you're dead. You go over to the other side, you're done. So I feel your death, fine. Right? He reverse engineered it and had it to where Bonnie, as soon as you touch Bonnie, you're back onto the mortal plane. He completely controlled. He was the controller. You dig me? He made a spell that made you the controller on who gets onto the mortal plane or not. What? He made a spell. He was only on the other side for maybe like a week. Genuinely, I think he died in episode 7. I think by the time we get to episode like 19 or 21 or 20 or whatever the heck, that's when he comes back. He was only on the other side for like maybe 2 to 3 weeks, maybe. Something crazy like that. Maybe 2 to 3 weeks. Maybe. You feel me? And he created a spell that made him, right? If he would have even done the spell, if he was on the mortal plane, it would have made him the controller over like who was able to get on the mortal plane or not via this anchor person. Someone touched the anchor, they come back to the mortal plane. You feel me? Who I want to be over here? Okay, you touch the anchor. Okay, now you touch the anchor. Okay, now you touch the anchor. Okay, now we're on the mortal plane now. Yay. Easiest thing in the world. Enzo got back on the mortal plane. I mean, like, Silas' spell brought literally like 90%, 99% of the cast back onto the mortal plane, gang. Swear to God, 99% of the main characters back onto the mortal plane. Genuinely. It wasn't Qetsiyah, but like, it wasn't Qetsiyah. That's another thing. It wasn't Qetsiyah. She didn't come back to help Bonnie after making her a fucking unsustainable anchor intentionally. Like, am I intentionally? Oh my gosh. By actually going through with the freaking spell. I said intentionally. Although she was forced to like complete the anchor spell, it's like she still like did the damn spell. You know what I mean? She still did the damn spell. You know what I mean? But whatever, dog. That's just 2 instances, right? Let's talk about a third instance, right? And this is going to be more so about the witch part. Oh, I could talk about how the entire concept for the fucking immortality spell was his idea. It was his shit in the first place. Why wouldn't he help? Why wouldn't he help? If him and Qetsiyah were the 2 most powerful members of a gift that people call travelers, why the hell wouldn't Silas help with the immortality spell? What do he have to lose? What do we have to lose? What? What exactly? What? What does he have to lose? In fact, him helping would speed up the process. When they got the immortality spell and the immortality elixir and all that shit, they were still like the same age, my nigga, which means that they most likely helped each other, right, to get it done faster. Yo, y'all kill me, yo. Another thing, Silas says before Qetsiyah ever comes onto the scene that he created the immortality spell. But all people remember and all people speak about is, oh my gosh, Qetsiyah made the immortality spell. Before Qetsiyah ever stepped onto the scene, mind you, only 2 of them was there. Of course, we can bring up Amara, but only 2 people worked on the immortality spell, genuinely, or even was able to do something about it if they even like knew about the immortality spell. Amara probably knew about the immortality spell, I suppose, I guess, I don't know, but she's a freaking human, for God's sake. She wasn't able to help on that shit. You dig me? Silas knew about it. Qetsiyah knew about it. They worked on it. You dig me? Silas says, I create the immortality spell. Qetsiyah then says, oh my gosh, clearly you're at the men's side of the story. It's wrong. I create the immortality spell. So the 2 people that create the immortality spell, the only 2 people that was there working on the immortality spell, are saying that they create the immortality spell, which means that they both worked on the immortality spell. That's it. To me, I'm going to always say they both worked on it, but Qetsiyah fans piss me off so much to the point where I want to just say Silas worked on it. Nigga, it was his idea. Fuck you talking about. Now what? Now what we going to do, huh? Now what? Now what actually? Like actually though, genuinely speaking, now what? What's next? It was his idea and his spell and he worked on it. His shit. You dig me? Simple as that. So that's what I really want to say, but genuinely speaking, they worked on it. You dig me? Genuinely speaking, they worked on it. That's the only logical conclusion that you can come to once he claims ownership and she claims ownership, right? So these 2. Let's get away from the wishness, right? The whole video is about like Silas being a better witch than Qetsiyah, but that's the natural inclination. He's a god. He's a god. But anyways, let's go over to like the psychic part, right? He literally beat the Hunter's Curse in minutes. And how do you know he beat the Hunter's Curse in minutes, Demetrius? How do you know? How do you know? Because we've seen scenes of him, gang. In season 5, we've seen scenes of him. Even in season 4, you dig me? Jeremy wasn't tormenting his ass. He beat the Hunter's Curse in minutes. He killed Jeremy to wake up. That's some legendary shit. One of the 5 is supposed to like take the cure and shove it down your throat, and yet you kill that motherfucker. You kill Jeremy. He comes back as a hunter, like ghost person, right? To torment you. And you get done with it. You completely destroyed the Hunter's Curse. You completely destroy a spell that Qetsiyah said, one of my descendants do the spell for me. You feel me? Place that, put that in place. Yo, he whooped, oh my gosh, yo. He destroyed Bonnie mentally, right? Beat Qetsiyah's ass, and then absolutely outdid the spell, right? He absolutely overcame the spell that one of her descendants placed, right? Of course, via like the Hunter's Curse, right? You feel me? Because one of her descendants made the Hunters, and then if they were to die, they would come back and be like the last, So that whole spell, that whole situation, right? When we're talking about this whole desiccation situation of like Silas by Qetsiyah, right? That only halts the issue, right? When we're talking about something like a desiccation of, or a stoning of Silas by Bonnie, right? That spell was a lot. But anyways, even that, right? You're just halting the issue, right? Because Bonnie bound the spell to herself. What did that mean? It means when she's 70 years old and about to die, the stoning situation is gonna die because the witch who cast it was supposed to be alive when they was alive when they cast it, but then they died. So in 70 years, he would have just got unstoned, and then and then probably found a way in like 300 years or 400 years to get out of the freaking tomb or whatever the hell he was placed in. Well, it tells you at the tomb. Or whatever this, or a safe, or whatever the hell, or a bag of whatever, I don't know. He was about to get dumped to the ocean. He would have just, in 70 years, or 80, or 100, or whatever the heck, when they found him in the ocean, he would have just been back alive on the mortal plane. Genuinely, that's exactly what had happened, because she bound her spell to herself. The spell was never a permanent John. You feel me? It was a lifespan John. When it comes to Qetsiyah and her desiccation spell, right? That only halts Silas. It doesn't kill Silas. In fact, you left him there. So guess what? The opportunity was such a missed opportunity. Just like Silas, right? Even moments before her desiccating him, even this is a social commentary too. The moment before that she even desiccated Silas, and you feel me? With the heart thing, oh my gosh. He could have killed her in the Whitmore Historical Ball. By that point, he had gorged on blood. He was compelling entire town squares and shit. He could have killed her right there, compelled everybody to stop moving. He could already compel Qetsiyah. He could have killed her right where she stood, and yet, my God was a lenient God and gave you grace. Go find the anchor for me. Thank you. Goodbye. Mwah. That's genuinely how it happened. Even before you could desiccate his ass, he got to you first, gang, and then wiped your memory of getting to you first, gang. Silas is God, nigga. Silas is God, nigga. What the fuck you talking about? I'm out of here. That's gonna be the last video of the week, I suppose. Cause I just got done with I gotta make a whole new list of discussions and shit to talk about TVDU. That's all I want to talk about when it comes to Silas and proving that he's a better witch and just a better everything. You feel me? Better witch, better psychic, although she was never psychic. He was a better, maybe she was, gang. I don't know how she created the other side without having the psychic gene. I just think she died before ever being able to start mind reading, you feel me? Or before ever being able to develop her psychic gene to the point of reading minds. That's what I think happened with Qetsiyah. But I feel like she has the psychic gene because there's no other way that you're out here creating entire dimensions, naturally. You feel me? When it comes to bending blood, you can create that with the Gemini coven, you feel me? Or whatever the hell, and get a prison world. Easy deasy. Easy deasy, easy peasy, you feel me? But we're talking about real deal, creating it naturally. The other side creating it naturally, you feel me? Making Amar the Anchor and all type of weird shit, right? To be honest, I feel like having to make Amar the Anchor, I feel like that means it's a spell more so than a naturally occurring other side due to a psychic gene. You feel me? Because you're when Bonnie creates an other side, when Bonnie creates a dimension, right? She doesn't need a true anchoring, but then again, you could say Enzo was the anchor person or whatever the hell. I don't know, brother. I don't know. When it comes to Cade, let's say Cade, right? When he created his other side, or his dimension, right? He didn't need an anchor person. You feel me? He was just the nigga that created the other side. You dig me? He didn't need no anchor in that shit. So when it comes to Qetsiyah, I think that it was more so a spell than having to do with the psychic gene. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Because of the anchor. Because oh my God, if it was created naturally, then okay, cool, that's a psychic gene. But if it wasn't created naturally, then you would need a spell to have the other side spell, you feel me, stay up for a long ass time, which would help because of anchor, right? And you love the whole channeling shit, which means that you would of course use a fucking Amara. You dig me? You need to channel everything. You always channeling shit every time. All you do is channel Qetsiyah. But I love Qetsiyah too, though. I was a dog walking her this video, but still, though, that's my dog. I got Qetsiyah over Nadu. I got Qetsiyah over Hope. I got Qetsiyah over everybody, you feel me? But Bonnie got the most potential on the TVD world to get to that level of godlike power than anybody else on the TVD world, born on the TVD world. You feel me? She even had that over Ben. If Bonnie becomes immortal and becomes this woman version of Cade, she can wield magic and be a psychic at the same time, put together. The only thing that she can't, her only con, right, will be still being affected by this type of magic, right? Because gods are not affected by anything other than God magic. They're not held back by this world's magic, TVD world magic, right? They're just, the only thing that could really pierce any type of shit is God magic and really get in there. That's the only difference between her and gods. If she really have max capabilities, and she really go start snapping, and she has the most potential. Bonnie has the most potential water whoop. But real deal, Qetsiyah slamming these other bitches, these other witch John. You feel me? Silas, that's what I'm talking about. But Qetsiyah right here slamming all these Jones, right? And then we have Bonnie over here because she has the most potential, right? But then again, I'm gonna have to say that this is annoying because Qetsiyah doesn't have as much potential as Bonnie, but Bonnie doesn't have as much intellect as Qetsiyah or Silas. You dig me, as a witch. So what ends up happening is it's such a tricky situation because you could be like, she got the most potential, Bonnie got the most potential, I'm putting her all the way up here. But yeah. Click on the post notification bell and deuces.